our website. So without further ado, I am joined here by the one, the only, and the most amazing director that I have the privilege of working with, Sue. And so I'll give the floor to Sue to introduce herself.
Wow, hopefully I can follow that awesome introduction. Thank you, Andreas. So my name is Sue Sankaroth, and as Andreas mentioned, I'm the Director of Pre-Collegiate Outreach Programs here at WPI. And I'm just here today to kind of say welcome to this webinar on our re-envisioned Frontiers program for this summer 2020. We are really excited that we are able to offer you something, and we think that it will be an engaging and exciting experience, and you'll get a great opportunity to engage with our faculty, other students, and our staff this summer. You're going to be learning in WPI undergraduate courses along with our current students. And I think you'll really have an interesting opportunity to get a chance to experience what college life might be like. We just want to acknowledge that we understand that this is not the experience that many of us expected to have this summer, that many folks wanted to be on campus and experience our beautiful campus. And we hope to be back in person next year for the summer doing that. But in the meantime, we really feel like with the combination of staff, students, and faculty, that we really can bring the spirit of WPI and the WPI community to you. I personally am a WPI alumna and also a parent of WPI. And so I love this place, and I am just very excited that all of you are considering spending some time with us this summer. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Andreas, and he's going to share a little bit about what the program is all about. And then I'll be back to help answer some questions at the end of that. So thanks, Andreas.
Awesome, Sue. Thanks so much. So here's the agenda for today. So we're going to chat a little bit about the program, sort of the ins and outs and how our program works. We'll deep dive into our courses that we're offering for this summer and a little bit of information about how those all work. And then we'll also talk about our unique wraparound services. We are excited to offer both academic support, college readiness, and access resources, as well as student engagement opportunities for students to really take advantage and help complement their online learning experience at Frontiers for Credit this summer. And like Sue shared, we'll sort of circle back on any questions that you all have from the information that's shared today, and hopefully we'll get to those by the end of today's webinar. So a little bit about Frontiers for Credit. So Frontiers for Credit is designed for high school students who are looking and interested in earning college credit and experiencing an academically fulfilling WPI college course. At a glance, this is a 5-week online program where high school students have the ability to earn college credit. All the courses that students will be taking, for the most part, are asynchronous courses, meaning that any students from any time zone can access the material on their flexible time schedule and at their convenience. All students will get the opportunity to gain access to wraparound services, and these are complementary services that we're looking to host as a department for you all to take advantage of for this online experience. And these services are free of charge because we truly want you all to be successful and get the most out of your online experience this summer. We're also excited for students to get the chance to build relationships with current WPI faculty, staff, and undergraduate students. Some of the high school students that will be diving into the Frontiers for Credit courses will also be working alongside other high-achieving high school students that are in our program, but also current undergraduate students at WPI, which is a great opportunity for you to connect and learn alongside current students at our institution. And then as you see here today, one of my favorite parts about hosting this webinar is getting a chance to see where folks are tuning in from, where they're joining us from. And we honestly have had folks from all around the world tune into our webinars, but also join our programs for the summer. So you have the ability to connect with students from around the nation and around the globe. So a little bit about how this all works. So Frontiers for Credit will take place July 13th to August 14th during WPI's online summer session 2. Students will register for a WPI online course of their choosing. They will also be taking those same courses that we just chatted about alongside WPI undergraduate students and other high school students that are in our program. Students that are entered into Frontiers for Credit will be placed into herds. These are a fun sort of peer groups that are constructed and curated by our office staff with some intentionality. And these are groups that students will be learning and growing alongside, as well as building community with throughout the program. Students will gain access to all the wraparound resources that we just chatted about and we'll dive deeper into. And the total overall package of Frontiers for Credit is $2,148, which includes the free wraparound services. But we also want to mention that course cost is discounted at a 50% rate due to everything going on currently. We understand that the financial burden that has placed on many families. So we did want to offer right off the bat that 50% discounted tuition cost for students to take advantage of these courses over the summer. So what kind of courses are available? So a lot of our courses over the past couple weeks have filled pretty quickly and are pretty popular, but some of the suggested courses are here below. So we do have calculus, intro to biotechnology, fundamentals of global health, general physics mechanics, intro to computer aided design, material sciences, and the list honestly goes on and on and on. We have a variety of different STEM offerings, and we also have a variety of different humanities and arts offerings. A complete list of all our course offerings are available online on our website. So you'll be able to see sort of mini descriptions on there about what each courses plan to cover, and sort of the intentionality and the things that students will be tackling throughout that course on our website. So that's a little bit sort of big preview of the different courses that we're looking to offer for this summer. All right, some things to note. So majority of our questions that tend to come in about Frontiers is, are these courses that students are going to be taking for credit? And that is yes, they are for college credit that will one day hopefully be transferable to WPI if and when you choose to apply here one day as an undergraduate student or any other institution you choose to apply to. So these are 4 credit courses. We'll talk a little bit about the grading structure. So there is a traditional letter grade associated with each of the courses at the completion of the course, or students can choose to opt into a pass or no credit. And I'll explain a little bit about the pass no credit. That just means at the end of your course, you have the ability to elect whether you want to receive the letter grade that is given to you, or you choose just to simply have a pass grade on your transcript with no letter grade associated. So students have the absolute ability throughout the whole time of their Frontiers for Credit course to elect at the end whether they want to choose the letter grade that it is assigned after the completion of the course, or they choose that they in fact want to pass just the course. So I'm sure there might be a little bit questions about sort of that grading structure that's in place. So we're happy to tackle those as those come in later on in the Q&A. But students will, at the end of their Frontiers for Credit course, receive a transcript with transferable credit to another institution. So we talked a little bit about the price tag for Frontiers for Credit earlier on. There is an additional cost associated with it, and that is roughly a little bit around or under $200, and that's for additional costs of textbooks or any necessary course material that's required to complete the courses. All students will understand, or all students will hear what course materials are needed for the completion of that course through their faculty. So when students register for the course, they'll receive an email or notification on their Canvas site, which is our online learning platform. And our faculty will indicate either via Canvas or on their syllabus what course materials are needed in order to purchase for them to be successful throughout the course. And as always, those are going to be happening on a rolling basis, right, throughout the summer and closer to the program start date. But students can go right to WPI's bookstore, right via Google, and type in their CRN course code, and then also be able to access any textbooks that are on there and purchase them through our WPI bookstore. So a little bit about the academic overview. So Typically, a WPI summer course is about 28 to 38 hours of class time throughout 5 weeks, with about 10 to 15 hours of homework time per week. On average, students may be in classes for 75 minutes and do homework for about 3 hours a day. Each of the courses are structured differently, so they could be a traditional lecture style, or they could include both lecture and hands-on exercises. Some might include lecture components as well as team projects and or lab components. All components, though, of a traditional course will be offered in a virtual format. So students will be able to access all of these components remotely. So a little bit about the wraparound services. So we understand that for the this may be the first time that many of you are transitioning to an online learning environment and an online collegiate learning environment, right? And so we want to make sure that we're intentional about the resources that we offer you to make sure that you're successful at the end of your Frontiers experience. We're looking to host a variety of different academic support services that includes one-on-one and group tutoring services, academic peer mentorship programs, also homework hangouts and tutoring sessions, which are hosted by our online program assistants. Our online and program assistants are undergraduate students at WPI that have taken similar courses to the ones that Frontier students will be taking and are very familiar with the course content that is instructed. So we're really excited about hosting these variety of tutoring sessions for students to really deep dive alongside the help of their peers and undergraduate students to really master the course material that's being instructed. So those are a little bit about the academic support services that we have. We also are looking to implement college access and readiness resources. So we understand right now it could be extremely stressful and challenging to even start to think about what college might look like or your college search process. So we want to be intentional in offering you a variety of different resources to help ease that stress and ease that worry and actually make you feel confident as you begin your college search process. We have a variety of career exploration workshops, resume workshops, college planning night with parents and families, as well as a variety of different WPI hosted admission events. And those are admission 101 sessions. We'll give you a deep dive into sort of how admissions works at WPI, as well as a personal interview that you can choose to opt into with our WPI admissions counselors. And so all of these are readily available for students to really deep dive and start to begin to think about college and their college search process and how to navigate it in this very, very stressful, but also sort of different time that we're living in, this new world that we're living in. And so we're very excited to host these resources for you all this summer. So a little bit about our student engagement opportunities. One of the favorite things that I personally love about Frontiers is the community that the students build throughout the program. We're still looking to offer that same community that students experience at our programs and at WPI in general, in a virtual format and in a virtual setting. So we're very excited about our virtual campus, we're calling it, and sort of the opportunities that we're looking to bring to you engagement-wise. We're looking to host a variety of different community service opportunities. We have a couple of virtual events, including dinner with our very own Dean of Undergraduate Enrollment Services and other deans from other colleges, to really sort of get a chance to connect with them and understand about WPI and sort of get an insight glimpse on WPI and the admission process. We're also excited about hosting a variety of different social events for you all to build community and stay connected with one another, not just in your herd, but also in Frontiers for Credit in general. We're looking to host potentially some e-gaming nights, e-gaming tournaments, virtual community builders, maybe a virtual talent show, Netflix watch parties, and then also some other virtual events that we're super excited to share with you all, and we hope that that you take advantage of. So yeah, so that's a little bit about the student engagement pieces and the other academic wraparound services. So what will a day in a life of a Frontiers for Credit student look like? So here you'll find a mock schedule for Frontier students that is based on Eastern Standard Time. And so you'll see sort of in the morning, folks will wake up and start to dive deep into their course content material, review and learn what is posted on their Canvas learning site. We'll offer a variety of different drop-in tutoring sessions and homework hangouts that will happen at staggered times throughout the week. And those are intentional for folks from different time zones to be able to access them at their convenience. You'll then go back into your course-related project work or lab work. And then we understand that Zoom fatigue is a serious thing. So our online program assistants are excited to host a variety of different wellness activities to help you sort of rest and recharge. And then we're going to shift into our sort of evening and social events for that night. And so we'll look at hosting a virtual herd hangout for you to connect with your other high school students in your herds and your online program assistants. And then sort of jump into our virtual events and our evening activities. And so as you see here, Dinner with the Dean is one of them, but also our e-game tournament that we're excited to host. And so this is sort of a mock schedule that a student will look at and may potentially follow, but this is sort of a glimpse or a day in the life of a Frontier student throughout the summer. So with that being said, I know I did cover a lot of information all at once, and I see here our chat feature is, there's all the questions are sort of pouring in there. Ryan, I am gonna ask you, I know my colleague Ryan is here on the call, any questions that come in the Q&A box, if you can just filter those into the chat feature for us panelists to see, and we're happy to answer those as well. So we'll sort of deep dive in here. I'm going to transfer the floor over to the one, the only Sue to answer these questions. And so Sue, I see the first one here. Questions coming in. We have a couple questions about, I see if someone's applying right now and they're saying there's a different total amount due. Can we just go over that tuition amount for them just to share that again with the folks?
Yeah, sure. I did. I think I grabbed that person on the chat and answered their question.
Okay.
But basically, the cost is $21.48 per course. So if you were thinking about taking more than one course, then obviously that would double to $42.96, which is what we saw there. What I will say is there was another question about whether you could take more than one course, and I kind of want to address that because it's really important that you think about your bandwidth and your comfort level. So this is an abbreviated term for us. Typically a term at WPI is 7 weeks, and we're doing these courses in 5 weeks over the summer. It's something that the faculty think that students are capable of doing, and it's not a problem. But it's not only going to be for many of you the first time that you take a college course, but then you'll also be taking that at an accelerated pace. And so our recommendation is to stick with only one course for the summer. You know, we certainly can't stop you from taking two, but we would ask you to seriously consider that. You have an expectation of about 15 hours of homework per course outside of the time that you're spending reviewing the lectures. So it is a pretty serious time commitment when you're talking about taking more than one course.
Awesome, thank you. And so I see here, are there any scholarships or financial aid offered for Frontiers for Credit?
Unfortunately, beyond the already discounted price of $21.48, which is about half of what we would normally offer these courses for, we are not able to offer any additional discounts or scholarships.
And then I see another question in here about, is AP Chem considered college level?
Yes, so typically if you were taking an AP chemistry course and you took the exam and you got a 4 or a 5, you would get WPI credit for that course at the entry-level chemistry courses. So we do consider that equivalent. So if you're looking at some of the courses that suggest a college-level chemistry background, that would be appropriate in that case.
Awesome. And so there's a question in here. Does matrices in linear algebra require knowledge of Calculus 2 or AP Calc BC?
That's a great question. So the good thing, the nice thing about matrices and linear algebra is it is a different type of math from calculus. It requires a experience with algebra 2, but it doesn't require experience with calculus. So if you'd love to take a math class and you haven't taken your calculus sequence yet, then matrices and linear algebra would be a really good option for you.
Awesome. And so I see another question in here about how will WPI project-based approach be implemented with pre-recorded lectures, so the asynchronous course material, and then specifically asking about the algebra course.
Sure. So I think it's interesting to note that obviously we'll be interacting with different faculty, with different styles, with different ways they manage their course. But I will say that the faculty have had a whole term of online teaching experience. They have still given students great opportunities to interact in groups, and the expectation is that they will continue to do that in the summer. So likely you may have homework assignments that are individual assignments, and then you may have other assignments that are group projects that you will do in groups. And that will vary from faculty to faculty, but the intention is to provide the same level of project-based learning and group learning online that we would provide in person.
Okay, awesome. And then I see a question here specifically about physics. Do the physics classes use calculus?
I'm gonna ask to verify that one. So if we can grab the name and the email address of that individual. I believe the one that we're offering this summer is not a calculus-based physics, but I do want to clarify that before I put that out there officially.
Okay. And then another question here is from our Camp Reach alum. Awesome. And that question is regarding potentially having a summer job or any other type of outside commitment. Is it doable, but with also taking and participating in Frontiers?
I'm going to again say that is kind of up to you to know yourself, right? So it depends on how many hours you're working and whether you think you can include, those other hours a week. I think Andreas had put out there maybe 28 to 35 hours, considering you're doing your coursework, which is probably 5 hours a week and another, 15 hours of homework. So maybe 20 hours per class a week. So thinking about that, the courses themselves, for the majority of them, are asynchronous, which means you get to decide when you want to watch the lectures and do the homework. I will say the robotics class is planning on offering some synchronous options as well for questioning and build time. So that's the only one that I know of right now that is synchronous. And then obviously if you have group projects, making time to meet with your project team and making that work. So ultimately we're going to leave that up to you, but hopefully that gives you some guidelines in terms of making the decision.
Awesome. And so the next question here is about accessing the course material from different time zones. So could you share a little bit about asynchronous one more time for our listeners?
Sure, absolutely. So one of the great things about this option of learning online is that WPI has a whole system available to you where you can access the content. So each course has, we have referred to them in the past as a Blackboard site. You may know them from Google Hangouts or things like that, but basically a place where all the course content is available. If there are discussions in the course, where discussions would take place, where you can turn in your homework for the faculty, that's all happening on a site we call Canvas. And so you would be interacting regularly with that Canvas site, and your faculty would be providing you with the material there on that site. So that's how we handle it. So you can access the material when it's convenient for you, like I said, with the exception of the robotics course.
Awesome. And could you share a little bit about the registration deadline and if there are any caps for students in each course?
Yes. So in terms of the registration deadline, I'll handle that one first. We are asking that students register by June 15th. And the reason for that is this is new for our faculty to have so many high school students. They always have some high school students in their summer courses, but this is the first year they're going to have so many. So we want to give them a little bit of time to get ready for you all and to make sure that the experience is great. So that's why we're asking that you register by June 15th. And then in terms of caps on the courses, there are caps on some of the courses. The way we've been handling this is we are updating our website as things close. So currently what you see on the website is up to date as of this morning. Now, with that being said, I will say we have a lot of folks on this call, and if everybody rushed to register right now, we may have some courses that might close up on us in that case. But we would certainly reach out to you and let you know if that were the case, and kind of direct you towards other courses. One course I see a lot of talk on, the Intro to CAD course, and I can let you know that that course does have quite a bit of room still available in it. So that's a great option if you're thinking about it. And I can say I saw course questions related to the software. Once you take a course at WPI, if there's software that you need to take that course, then that would be available to you. So don't worry about that. We would have a way for you to download that software. And for that particular course, there wouldn't be additional materials available. The materials would simply be the software. The only course that I know of currently that would require anything beyond a book is the robotics course that is going to require you to purchase a kit to build your robot with.
Awesome. Thanks so much for taking care of those CAD questions as well. I have another question in here. Are the course content reviews and lab or project work daily or just 2 or 3 times a week?
So that again is going to depend on the individual faculty member. So I don't like to give an across the board answer. Each faculty member has been structuring their online course in the manner that makes the most sense for their content and for them as a faculty member. So it could be either or both, I guess I would say. So there's some that probably will give you content every day, and there are others that might give you content several times a week. Similarly with homework assignments and things like that, some may require the homework every night be done for the next day, and others may require that you pass something in at the end of the week. So that is really going to vary from faculty member to faculty member. And that's kind of part of the true college experience, right? You're going to have those different answers, those different types of situations in a college course as well.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Sue. And then a couple more questions are piling in there. And so the first one is about the grading options. So can we go over sort of the different styles of the grading options, with the letter grade and then the pass option?
Sure. WPI, whether you're familiar with us or not, has a traditional grading policy of A, B, C, and no record. So we do not penalize students for failing a course. They can have, if they don't pass with an A, B, or C, then there is no record of them having taken the course. So that is our traditional grading policy. For this particular summer, we have added the option, and actually for our D term as well, we have added the option of pass-fail, with the understanding that a lot of folks are just learning this online learning environment, and so we want to give a little bit more flexibility. So if your preference is that you don't see an A, B, or C on your transcript, then you could just get a pass or a fail. And again, that's an option that you will have to decide as a student. And as Andreas mentioned early on, you don't have to make that decision until you actually see your grade, which I think is fantastic, right? So you can see your grade, you can decide, yeah, I'm happy with a B, or, I don't want to really see a C, I'd rather just see a pass. And then you can make that decision right before grades close. So some great options for folks.
Awesome. And so I have a question in here a little bit about balancing other outside things. And this one's vacation. And so what is the average? The first question is, what is the average number of students in each course? If I'm on vacation for 1 week during the course, will that be okay? and could they make up that material at a later point?
Yeah. So what I will say is this is a regular college course. So if you imagine that you are in the semester in school taking a course, you're likely not going to take a week off of vacation to take that course, right? So this is a college course, and there is an expectation that you would have access to the internet and to completing the coursework in the entire 5 weeks that the course is happening. So if you're not prepared to complete your coursework while you're on vacation, I'm going to suggest that you maybe pass on the course for this time around, because there is that expectation, similar to a regular course, that that you are there for the entire time. In terms of course limits, that does vary again from course to course. What I will say is that we have very carefully set the limits for each course to ensure that the faculty interaction is appropriate. And so in some cases, the course may show a greater number of students participating, but then we have different sections with different faculty teaching those sections. And so there will always be the appropriate number for that particular course of student to faculty ratio. Typically at WPI, those tend to be, in an in-person, in some classes, they're, higher ratios, and others, they're lower ratios. But in all the cases, we also have some teaching assistant or peer learning assistant staff. And then, of course, we have our wonderful OPAs who will be helping you out with tutoring and homework as well.
Awesome. And so the next question I see here is about dropping potential course and refunding. So could you talk a little bit about the add drop period, Sue, and how refunds work with Frontiers for Credit?
Sure. So this is, as I mentioned, this is a traditional course. So the add drop period will be for a 5-week term. Usually the add drop period will be about 4 or 5 days. So imagine the end of your first week of courses. At that point, you can add another course or drop this course without any penalty. So you will not be charged for the course if you make a decision to drop it. After that point, you can still withdraw from the course, but you would not receive a refund at that point. So you can still withdraw from the course through almost to the end, but at that point, you would not receive a refund. You'll only receive a refund in the add drop period.
Awesome. And so I see there's a couple questions, and I just want to clarify this for any folks that do have any questions about the rate and the cost of Frontiers. The 50% discounted rate has already been applied, so that total cost is $2,148, right? So that is the cost for our overall experience, and that includes that 50% discount. So that's just that one flat fee of $2,148, just to clarify any potential confusions along those lines. And so the next question here, Sue, is will we have access to our grades throughout the time of Frontiers?
Yes. So as the faculty put them in, I'll say with that caveat. So like most cases, it will depend on how the faculty are grading the course. Are they grading, with similar to probably what you're experiencing in high school, right? So how much does your homework grade count? How much does your quiz grade count? How much does your test grade count? And then all of that will be put into the Canvas site, so you can see that, or potentially into Banner. It's going to depend on the faculty, but they will let you know where to see and access your grade as you go along. And one of the things I'll say about WPI is the faculty are great. They're really accessible, and so if you have questions or concerns, they're going to have office hours for you available too, virtual office hours where you can sign up and meet with them one-on-one. So that will be an option if you have concerns or questions about your grade as you go along.
Awesome. And then the question here is organic chemistry going to be asynchronous?
Yeah, and I did see another question, I think, about organic chemistry and environmental engineering. I'm going to ask Ryan or Nicole, if you have a chance to go to the WPI course catalog and take a look at what the scheduler looks like for environmental engineering and put that link in, that would be awesome. So what I can tell you is, I'm guessing that yes, organic chemistry would be great for environmental engineers. I don't know whether it is listed as a specific must-have course for environmental engineering, which is why I want somebody to maybe check that out. WPI Catalog online has access to all the recommended curriculum for all the majors at WPI. So if you're interested in taking a look at that before you make decisions, you can do so. And then in terms of the asynchronous information, as far as we know, the information we have now is that organic chemistry is, yes, an asynchronous course. So that's, you know, unless that changes, we would obviously give you updates on that, but that is the information that we have right now. So.
Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing. Ryan,
I've seen a lot of questions around time zones, so I wanted to just address that a little bit. One of the things that is important to know in terms of, so for the class itself, if it's asynchronous, then certainly it's not a problem where your time zone is, because you can look at the material when you want to. If you are working with a project group and a project team, then that's one of the learning pieces about being in these college credit courses, right? So you, along with your team, are going to have to decide on a time that works for everybody, right? So, you know, you're going to have to find that window as a team that works for you. So if you are 12 hours away from your project mates, then you guys have to figure out, you know, does 6 p.m. or 6 a.m. work best for everybody? And those are the things that we are expecting students to learn and to work out. And that is real world stuff, right? So when you're working in industry, you might have colleagues who work in another time zone or another country, and you're going to have to work with them. So this is all part of the real world experience. So we're excited for you to have that opportunity.
All right. And so how much credit does a biotechnology course give if passed?
So all of these courses are equivalent to a 3-credit course in a regular college setting. And I say that because WPI just names our credits differently. So they are the equivalent of a 3-credit course. At WPI, we call that a third of a unit. And that's just a historical thing that has been around for 40 years here. But what it is equivalent to is a 3-credit course. And what I will say is, if you are transferring that course to WPI, it would be the equivalent of having taken 1 course here. If you are transferring it somewhere else, the college that you are transferring it to is going to make the determination on how much credit you get for that course. So when we look at courses from other colleges, we ask to see the syllabus of the course. We look at it, we evaluate it against the courses that we have, and then we make a determination if we can give credit for that course and how much credit. And that similar process would take place at other schools.
Awesome. And so I see a question in here regarding the bookstore particularly. So how do we go about searching course materials or textbook materials via the bookstore page? And the answer to that is you actually can implement your CRN code that's associated with the course. So I'm going to go into the WPI bookstore website right now and pull that link and add it to the chat feature below for you all to see. I have a couple more questions that are coming in here, Sue, regarding quizzes and tests and sort of how those will work throughout Frontiers.
Okay, so again, I'll go back to the fact that this is all at the discretion of the faculty. So it is a possibility that your quizzes and tests could be proctored quizzes or tests. We have an online proctoring system that we're using for online courses. So it could be that they're proctored, which means somebody would be watching you, if you will, or you'd be using the proctoring system. It's possible that the faculty will also issue take-home tests or quizzes where you're just doing the course, doing the test or quiz on your own. Some faculty may not have tests or quizzes at all. They may work just on class discussion and projects. So it's really going to vary from faculty to faculty how the course is structured.
Perfect, thank you.
I see some questions around the schedule, and I think I just want to clarify a little bit again for our time zone folks who are in different time zones. The schedule that Andreas submitted was a mock schedule. So, you know, obviously it's going to depend on your time of day. The things that, things like homework hangouts and tutoring sessions, we are going to offer those at varying times throughout the week. So sometimes they'll be in the evening, sometimes they'll be in the morning, sometimes they'll be in the afternoon in the Eastern time zone, which would then make them accessible to folks in all different time zones. I think the one challenge, if there are challenges associated with folks from different time zones, are perhaps our plans to have our herd meetings around 5 o'clock Eastern time. In order to make this a community and to build this together, we did have to kind of pick a time that we felt was accessible to the majority. And I do recognize that that might mean for some of our folks in a time zone 12 hours away that we're asking you to participate pretty early in the morning. I'll also say that while we would love for you to participate in the herd meetings, they won't be mandatory per se. So, you know, we're trying our best to make this a community that comes together, while keeping in mind the fact that we have folks participating from around the world.
Awesome. And then I have another question in here, Sue. So how would you regard someone taking a class and doing well in your admissions decision at WPI? So a little bit about the undergraduate admissions. Yeah.
Yeah, great question. You know, I just have to say I love all these questions, so definitely keep them coming. This is a great opportunity to interact with us, not only about Frontiers for Credit, but certainly about WPI. Andreas and I both have a connection to the admissions office here as well, so happy to help out with that. And you know what, Andreas, I think I'll throw that one back at you and let you answer that question so that you get a chance to share your knowledge.
Yeah, awesome. So in regards to Frontiers, right, when reviewing applications, admissions counselors look at any touch points or really connections to campus, whether that be an event or a pre-college program such as this one, as a form of demonstrated interest in our institution. So that's something that we value when looking at our applications for undergraduate students. When you show the time and the effort to really get to know WPI and get connected to WPI, that's something that we appreciate you taking the time to connect with us and also understand a little bit more about our institution and show that interest. So that's something that we do look at and value very much so in the admissions process and the application review process. The one thing that I will say is if you do really, really well in your Frontiers for Credit course, that course, that letter grade, that credit is transferable into WPI. And so we'll be able to see that as well. The one thing that we usually typically get with Frontiers is attending Frontiers and getting into Frontiers, will that automatically give me an acceptance into WPI? And the answer to that is unfortunately no. There actually are other factors that we take into consideration in the application review. One of those factors is a form of demonstrated interest, but there's also a variety of different factors, including your high school transcript and sort of your experience in high school as well. So although it doesn't guarantee you an automatic in to our institution, it is something that we do value and we do love seeing on our students' application.
Excellent, thank you. The one thing I'll add is, you know, one of the things that admissions counselors are often looking for is whether you've challenged yourself, right, within your curriculum. And so certainly taking AP courses in high school or taking dual enrollment courses or taking college courses like this one are all ways that we can see that you're really challenging yourself, going outside your comfort zone. And those are things that we use to determine if you're going to be ready for the rigorous curriculum at WPI. So certainly having taken a WPI course and been successful in that lets us know that you're probably ready for that rigor.
Awesome. And so I see here a question too about syllabi and whether or not those will be available prior to registration or registering.
So we are very happy to take particular questions about particular courses and reach out to the faculty and see what they have available at this time. One thing that I will say is that this has been a great opportunity for faculty to work on continuous improvement, right? So they haven't been teaching online throughout, and so they taught in D term, they taught in our first summer session, and now they're teaching in our second summer session. And they're definitely improving the courses as they go along. So they're probably working on changing their syllabi or improving them for the E-term. So there may not be an official syllabus available for the course yet because the faculty are working on it. And I think, again, going back to the concept that this is a college course, that would be similar for you if you were registering for your classes on campus, right? You're going to have a description of what the course is. You may have asked your friends what the course is about, but you may not have a specific syllabus of the course material until you're actually in the course.
Mhm. And so just for everyone to note, I did include the information for our office and how to reach our office via email in the chat feature below. So like Sue shared, if there are any particular questions regarding specific courses that you have individually or one-off, we're happy to answer those via email. So feel free to send us a direct email on that.
We have a question about course credit. I'm going to try to review that one more time because it is,
Yeah.
I will honestly say, having been a student at WPI myself, I know that it's confusing the first time that you see it. So WPI, if you see 1/3 of a unit, that is one class. And in the rest of the world, we call that 3 credits. At WPI, we call that 1/3. So when you see something like 3/3, which is 1 for those of us who are math folks, but if you see 3/3, that's actually 3 courses, right? So it's every 1/3 is 1 course. So 3/3 is 3 courses. So sometimes when you see the requirements for a specific major, you might see there are 5/3 of math courses recommended, right? So that means there are 5 math courses that are recommended for that major. So if you can just think of 1/3 equals 1 class, that's probably the easiest way to understand our a little bit crazy system.
Perfect. Thanks so much for sharing that, Sue. Ryan or Nicole, are there any, oh, I see a couple more questions popping in from the Q&A. Oh, yep. So we talked a little bit about how project-based learning will be implemented in pre-recorded lectures. This one is regarding matrices and linear algebra.
Again, I'm going to throw that back to at the discretion of the faculty. So, each faculty member approaches the project-based learning differently, and obviously the subject matter plays a role in that. So, it could vary from having a group project where you are using a software platform and working on some type of group solution to a problem in matrices and linear algebra, to something like robotics where you're actually building a similar robot together, and in the virtual platform that might be a similar robot, not the same robot because you're not together. But rest assured that the faculty are taking this into consideration, and it is certainly intrinsic to the value of a WPI education. And so they are going to do their best to ensure that you get that same kind of experience online.
Awesome. And so we have a question in here about, can you give some advice or guidance on what kind of course to decide that is suitable to interests? And I know that there was a question in here maybe a little bit early on about a particular course. I think it was Astro. Hold on.
Astrophysics. Yeah, I think
Yep.
I saw that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So in terms of particular courses, what I always tell students, and a lot of this has to do with, also when students are trying to decide what major, I know I want to be an engineer, but I don't know what kind of engineer I want to be. And so a lot of times I will fall back on what you've liked in high school so far, right? So what courses have you taken that you loved? What courses have you taken that you were not so happy with? So for example, I'm a mechanical engineer. So, and I specifically have a materials background. So for me, courses that were related to physics or courses that were related to chemistry are things that were interesting to me. I like math a lot, so anything math related. For most of the science and engineering courses at WPI, you are going to have probably the full 4 calculus sequence necessary to complete your course requirements. So if you haven't taken any calculus or you're not planning on taking calculus, that might be an option. So it's really dependent, or if you just want to do something fun, maybe you want to take Introduction to German this summer, right? So it's really going to vary depending on what you're interested in and what you want to do. And if you take something in the humanities and arts, that still can count towards work that you're doing at WPI with your humanities and arts requirement. So really any choice you make is a right choice, we think. And that's why we specifically chose a list of classes that we think would be appropriate for high school students.
Perfect. And in the interest of time, we have 2 more questions that we'll hopefully tackle, but if there are any additional questions or things that folks think of at a later date, you do have our email over there in the chat feature. That's pop@wpi.edu, and we're happy to answer those via email, or as you think of them, feel free to send them along. This question here is about AP Calc. So the student took AP Calc last year. The Calc 2 description has some things that they have already learned in their AP course. What calculus course should they potentially go into?
So that's going to depend on whether you took AP Calc AB or AP Calc BC. And definitely also your comfort level with that course. So I'm going to use my own daughter as an example, even though she may not love me for doing that. She's no longer at WPI, so it doesn't count. She took AP Calc AB when she was in high school, and her math placement test recommended her for Calc 3 at WPI. So she took Calc 3, and I think for her, she felt like it was a pretty challenging course. And I think if she had it to do over again, she might have started slightly lower, so maybe at Calc 2. So typically when you take an AP course and you get a 4 or 5 on the exam, and the calculuses, the AP Calc AB, I believe, is going to give you credit at least for Calc 1, and BC gives you credit for Calc 1 and 2. So it's a challenge to think about. You know, if you want to challenge yourself, you can try Calc 3. There's always the pass-fail option, so certainly that's a possibility. But really, you know, WPI does not have any prerequisites, so we leave a lot of that up to the student to kind of make that decision. If you want to, you know, ask for further questions, we can connect you with the math teacher and the Calc teacher, and we can connect to find out about that.
Perfect. Thanks so much. And then the last question here that I see is, are there any academic accommodations offered for Frontiers?
Yeah, so as a Frontiers for Credit student, you are enrolled in a WPI course, and so you have access to our, I believe their new name is going to be Office of Accessibility Services. Is that correct? OAS.
Yes.
And
yep.
They will definitely work with you to talk about what accommodations are necessary and how those can be made. That being said, I will say that because it's a college course again, the level of accommodations could be different than what you're experiencing in high school if you have an IEP or 504 plan. Definitely a little bit of difference there, but we have a wonderful director of accessibility services, and she has actually personally offered to discuss any questions or concerns with Frontiers for Credit students.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thanks so much, Sue, for tackling those questions, and for folks for asking the questions. If there are any additional questions, like we shared in the chat below, folks can send us an email at pop@wpi.edu, and we are happy to answer those outstanding questions. I've been recording this webinar, so I will be following up via email to everyone with a link to the recording of this webinar, as well as some of the frequently asked questions in today's webinar. So if you kind of remember the answer but need a little reference, don't worry. Rest assured, I will be following up with you all, and you'll have that to reference. I just want to say on behalf of the Office of Pre-Collegiate Outreach Programs, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Below is our social media handles. We're very active on social. And so if you'd like to follow us on Instagram or find us on Facebook, our handles are WPI POP. So yeah, I'll give the floor to Sue to say her farewells.
Just want to thank everyone for being here with us. Whether you decide to join us for Frontiers for Credit or you just want to engage with WPI further, we're happy to help you out. We hope that you enjoy your summer this summer and that we might see you around campus virtually or in person. So.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you all so much for attending today's session. I hope you all have a great rest of the day, evening, morning, wherever you're tuning in from. Thanks so much for joining us, folks.